Good evening, I'm Nick Bonner for TreeStuff.com. I'm here with Trent Dix from ARBORjet. Trent?
Good evening, I guess I should say. Good evening.
Awesome, well thanks for joining us. We're really excited. We're going to talk about some pests. We're going to do some demonstrations. We've got some ARBORjet and F-Series kit out here.
Yep.
With some chemicals. We've got a stump, so this should be very fun. I'd like to thank Carson Royer on the sticks, Cale Royer, Jake Miller, for being here. Well, Cale's not here tonight, but he set all it up for us today. I'd like to thank those guys for helping us make this possible. Thank ARBORjet for sending Trent. ARBORjet's obviously a great product. We're going to try and keep this super educational. And I'm going to get out of here and leave it to you.
Great.
If you guys have questions, please throw them at us. Put them in the comments. Hit us with those emotes if you like something. Or if you want to steer it a certain way, let us know in the comments. And that's all good stuff.
Great.
Trent, take it away.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm going to talk about a lot of different things tonight. To kind of run you through, I'm going to talk about some invasive pests that are out there. And then I'm going to try to do a demonstration midway through. And then we'll talk about some fall fertilizations to finish up the evening. So let's get started. A little bit about ARBORjet. We've been around since 2000. We have a broad range of professional markets that we're in. We have some of the best performing products out there. We design and develop all of our products, and we have an environmental responsibility to everyone. And we have PhDs in pathologists and etymology on our staff. A little bit about changes that we made this upcoming year. We've expanded our research department. We've doubled our size of our research plots. We've added our own in-house engineering team so we can help create these great equipment that you see in front of you. We did a 3-year renovation. We increased our philanthropic efforts. We're actually doing saving the most iconic trees. So if you guys have historic trees or trees that are sentimental, we may be able to come out and adopt them for you. So, and then lastly, we purchased a major interest in the Ecologel company. So let's get started a little bit. Field support. We're across the United States. There's 9 RTMs throughout the picture. I cover the Mid-Atlantic right now, but I'm also the Eastern Technical Manager, and I oversee up to Illinois and throughout. What we're going to demo tonight, I want to talk a little bit about, is our newest piece of equipment. It's the F-Series. It's the upgraded version of our Tree IV. It gives you a lot more flexibility than our Tree IV did. Now that we will have caps that we'll talk about in the demo, but we have more flexibility with it. Now we have a 600 milliliter bottle. We have a 1.5 liter bottle for all your fungicide applications. We have an easy fill top that you can see. It's a lot more productive. We went with a higher efficiency with this. I'm really excited about this Hex PDS, which allows you to have 6 lines now. And if you have as you can see with the middle, you can actually add another 6. So you could go to 12 lines. So you have the options of doing 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, whatever you want to do for your injections. And what this Hex PDF actually gives you is the ability to have equal distribution into the trees. The greatest thing, we've listened to you guys as arborists, and what we did is we changed our ball valves, which you can see now it's a 1/4 turn ball valve. So it's a lot easier to turn the ball valves on and off, which makes things simpler for you guys. And it's lightweight. Just wanted to touch on the QuickJet Air. This is by far our best piece of equipment for the Emerald Ash Borer, and we're going to talk about that a little bit tonight. But amazing the speed this device gives you. To give you an idea of how much faster it is, the city of Rochester, New York, finished their injections 3 weeks earlier because they purchased this device. So it's quite a bit of time savings with this. It's compressed air. It's an easy on and off switch. It only weighs 5 pounds in your hand, so definitely something to consider if you're treating a lot of trees. Drill bits, needles, plugs, or plugless. You know, those are the questions that are out there. What's better? You know, there's some that say the plugless message is the best, but ideally, guys, we had the plugless system first, and we created the plugs because we see the advantages to it. And I'm going to talk about those advantages to get into it a little bit. We have a new drill bit. We redesigned this drill bit, and we've seen about 60% better uptake with this. So that's quite significant for you guys that are out there doing injections. It's a lot faster, it's a design, and we're going to show that when we get into the demonstration a little bit more. So let's talk about the arbor plug. The arbor plug is very unique. It gives you a plastic plug that will stay in the tree. It actually has a rubber internal septum, and it has 3 barbs on it, which allows the plug to stay in the tree. The advantage of this, there's 3 key points that I want to talk about really with this. Is number 1, it keeps the product in the tree. Typically with most of your plugless injections, you'll lose 1 to 2 mils. Well, if you add up that cost of the material, typically it's the cost of a plug. So why wouldn't we use that when we can save time? Number 2, it keeps any pest or diseases from going into that tree, which I think is really significant. You don't want to give it a stress point. And then thirdly, that tree will actually compartmentalize over that plug in a year's time, where it may take a plugless injection 2 or 3 years before you actually see the tree close over that and compartmentalize that. So I think the arbor plug is a real big advantage when you're out doing plant health care. So how do we set the plug? We're going to do this in the demonstration tonight, but I kind of want to show you up close how to properly set the plug. So typically you're going to drill through the cambium and set this plug in the xylem of the tree. So essentially you're going to be drilling into that tree 1 inch to 1.5 inches into the xylem tissue. And as you can see with this picture, when you set that plug, you may not even see it. It may be hidden by the cambium on certain types of trees. Your ash trees, some of your elms, the trees that have thicker bark, you're not going to see this. And we'll demonstrate that a little bit later on. This is probably the most important part of when you're doing any plant health care with injection, is setting this plug. As you can see in the picture to the top right, that's what it looks like just placed in the tree. A shallow set can be the most damaging to the tree. It can cause the most issues. Essentially, you could have cambial separation if you don't get this set. A deep set, where you can see on the top right, is going to be less uptake. It's going to be a slower injection process, but I would much rather see a deep set over a shallow set anytime. And then the bottom left corner is a proper set, and that's where you actually see the white of the xylem. I can't stress to you enough how that is a key to a good injection, where the bottom right is a proper set. So 1 year later, that plug is closed over. So that's how to effectively set the plug, and we're going to demonstrate that tonight midway through. So people ask, what happens to the tree after you do the injection? So this is some proper post-injection response. You can see the picture of the hemlock tree and how the tree is actually healed over that wound and continues to grow. You can see what the ash tree looks like. So what's actually happening is that tree is compartmentalizing what is going on. So it's not decaying, it's not dead tissue, because those were always concerns, and we're not seeing that. We're seeing live tissue, but it's compartmentalized and did it. And you can see how the tree continues to grow. So down the road, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you might be actually injecting into the same spot of the tree. So kind of changing gears now and getting into our first invasive pest, the emerald ash borer. This is by far one of the most difficult pests that we've seen out there, and the speed that it has moved throughout the U.S. is quite intense, because if you think about it, the gypsy moth took about 100 years to just travel essentially this part of the U.S., as you can see on the map. And the emerald ash borer has blown that away in that aspect of it. I mean, it's through almost 26 states right now, and it's just been a devastating pest for us. So, what is a treatable tree for the emerald ash borer? I get that question a lot, and I just kind of want to show you some pictures. So the picture on the left is a 60%. That would be most likely a removable tree. But the tree behind it that's have a 30% canopy, that's most likely can be treated, and we can inject that and feel comfortable. The interesting thing about this picture here is the trees that are closest to us that are thin are actually green ash, and the trees that look perfectly healthy behind it are white ash trees. So this emerald ash borer does have a preference of what type of ash tree it prefers. And we need to keep that in mind when we're treating for it and looking to what tree it may attack first. I shared the picture on the right because we all run into homeowners that have a sentimental tree or something of value. And I just want to put it out there that with the proper care, pruning, fertilizations, you could save that tree. We've done it, we've seen it happen. There's no guarantees, but if you're willing to put forth the effort to prune the tree correctly, fertilize it and maintain it, there's a chance that you could save that tree. So it is an option for you. The main topic that I wanted to talk about tonight, though, that I think is going to be a growing concern, and it could be even worse than the emerald ash borer when we get into it, is the spotted lanternfly. And it's been found in the states listed below. It was first found in Pennsylvania. It's in New Jersey now. It was just found in the New York, up in the Finger Lakes. Dead bodies have been found in the state of Delaware and Maryland, and there's a pretty significant population in Virginia. So we're going to talk about the life cycle of this. We're going to talk about what it's doing. I'm going to show you some photos of that. I'm going to talk about the effects that it's having in the seed orchards and everything in that aspect. So let's get started with this. So this was the first map that was done by the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture. And you can see it was found in Berks County. That would be ground zero. And it's been here roughly, I want to say 5 years now. The interesting thing is this is just kind of showing the different counties in that it's been found and seen. But let's get into the actual species itself. So the botanical name is Lycorma delicata, and it's native of Asia, people. So it was discovered in the fall of 2014. That's when we first noticed something going on. And the eggs arrived on packing material in a stone quarry in Berks County. Eradication did not happen at this time. So what we're seeing now is some of the huge consequences that I'm going to show you coming up. So this is an interesting slide. This is actually showing you the egg masses that they're actually starting to lay at this time. A lot of people say that it's an attractive type bug. You know, there's the nymphs. We're going to talk a little bit more about that and go through the life cycles. It was native to India, China, and Japan, and Vietnam, and for some unexpected reason it arrived in Pennsylvania. So getting into a little bit, you can see the egg sacs are very difficult to see. Kind of blow that up for you guys to see. They are hard to see, but once you start finding them, it's something you want to look for. So talking about the life cycle. So the eggs will sit on the tree typically October through June. And then in May, we'll start to see the first instar of the plants. And typically what these instars will do is they will leave the tree and they're going to go find any ornamental succulents, maybe grass in the yard to feed on. And then the second instar will be through June and July. And these instars can happen at different times, and I've got guys call me, I'm seeing second instars where they're seeing fourth instars. So it all depends on how these pests feed. The third instar will last June into July, and then we'll start seeing the fourth instars to July, September. And the fourth instars are really stand out because they have the reddish color. And then the adults will start to come out in July through December. So getting into that, some of the life stages, you can see the pictures here, the eggs, the second instars, the fourth instars, and the adults, how they move. And this is a nice map that was gave by the Pennsylvania Extension that you can find online, so you can see the different life stages of it. So I wanted to show a neat picture. This is the adult molting out of the fourth instar, so it kind of looks like it's pink. And there for a half an hour before its eggs develop, it's very like almost paralyzed when it's trying to move out and come out. Very interesting to see this happen. Why is this plant different? It has exponential reproduction capabilities. It has the ability to use a wide variety of hosts. For instance, I've seen them on silver maples, red maples, pear trees, oak trees, birch. I've seen them on crepe myrtles. I've seen them on sunflowers. So there's a wide variety of hosts that this plant will go after. Its mobility. it can fly, it can go different directions. It really has no general predators. Chickens do not even prefer to eat this. So when birds avoid it, we know we have a problem pest when they won't even come near it. So these are some of the things that we have seen. The population has gone unchecked. I mean, in the beginning years, we really weren't doing too much to stop it. So when a female can lay 30 to 150 eggs in a season, this could be a problem. What kind of problem? Look at the population game, guys. This is how scary, and this is just a generalization of assumed growth. 2013, 2000, 2014, 91,000. Get into 2016, we have 184,000. 8 million by 2017. And now, 2018 or 2019, we could have 16 trillion females. Well, that means this pest is going to move quite rapidly if we have this population potential. You can see the pictures of the trees, what they look like when they start to feed and they're out in mass. And what damage is that doing to the tree? And we're going to talk about that. I think it's quite concerning what this pest can do. So this is a photo of what I saw when I was out doing research. This is the first and second instars feeding. These pests prefer to eat ailanthus. They need that, or black walnut, or sumac, something with a toxic type of sap that's going to help them reproduce, is what they're telling us. What most of the researchers were telling us is they have to have ailanthus to reproduce. But what I'm seeing and what others have seen is as long as they have black walnuts, sumacs, they're out there. They're all over these plants. It actually speeds up their growth process in what it seems like. They mature a lot faster when they have that. Sticky band control. That's one of the things that was done in the beginning. This kind of shows you what happens. But what happens if you're not changing these sticky bands, they build up and the pests go right over the top of it. So it's pretty significant. They do work and it's interesting, but if you're not changing it a lot, it's not going to be as an effective tool. Host plant range. So it depends on the life cycle, guys. As I was saying, the early instars are going to be trying to feed on succulents, smaller plants, perennials, grasses. Their favorites are definitely the ailanthus, the black walnut, your stone fruits, shade trees, even non-woody plants. But they do prefer vigorous. The most healthiest types of plants are what they're going to go after. And they seem to follow in groups. So if one adult goes to one tree, they may all be on that. They seem to follow in packs. There is a significant sap loss to the tree. So the heavily infested trees can have large damage. And some of the problems with this is it causes honeydew. So you're going to get black sooty mold. You're going to get all these different pests that affect it. So this is something that came up by Penn State Extension, and this is the best time management practices. So some of the things that they've been out there recommending to do is destroy the egg masses, which is going out and actually literally scraping the eggs off the trees. And I mean, that could work, but when you have trees that have over 150 egg masses that range up and down the tree, it's not going to be the truly effective method of doing it. There's definitely registered insecticides that we'll talk about. There's dormant oils, we'll talk about that. There's been trap trees, treating an ailanthus tree and setting it up and then bringing them into it. Movement. This is the interesting thing. How is this pest moving? Well, there's been two main methods. It's hitchhiking, getting on cars. If there's casinos, racetracks, all these are opportunities for this bug to go. Campers, they'll hop on it. They'll fly. I've actually watched the adults climb up to the top of a telephone pole and then drop off to fly further than they could. It's been interesting in seeing the population. There has been some crashes where there isn't as healthy plant material out there. So this is causing the pests to move. So they're following the healthier plant material. So they're moving out of certain areas in that. So definitely keep an eye out on your vehicles when they find it in your area. Make sure you're not moving it or transporting it. So site conditions. I wanted to talk a little about that. When you're out treating for this pest, you want to see what plants are on the property and make a determination, are there going to be any hot plants? And we're going to talk about hot plants. And how many trees are on the site are going to need to be treated, because with the different pesticides that we have to make sure that we're not going off the label, because the label is the law. So the different application choices that we have are bark sprays, soil drenches, injections. Some foliar sprays have been found effective. So we're going to talk about all those and give you guys an idea of what we can do for this plant. So how do they hang on so well? This is the question people have asked. Well, they actually have little tarsal claws or suction cups that give them the ability to stick to cars up to 35 miles per hour. So I mean, that can be scary when you think about it, a slow-moving vehicle, or if they climb into an area where they're protected. So that's how they're moving. This interesting photo is them attacking grapevines. So I think it's a big concern for us to look at these grapevines and see what it could do to our fruit and orchard populations and that aspect of it. So these are things that we have to keep in mind. Apple trees. You know, this is a big business. In Pennsylvania, it's $1 billion business, and yields on grapevines alone were reduced by 92% in some of the areas where it was taxed. So this is definitely going to be a big problem on our vineyards, on our fruit trees, apple production. This is definitely a weakness to it. So these are all things that we need to keep in mind. This is a little bit of a list that the Penn State Extension lists for you guys to see what they're using for grape plants in foliar applications and what is allowed. This would be what would be used for peach trees. So all these are your options for treatment and what you could use on these. Up to date, these are the current insecticides that are actually registered with a 2EE in Pennsylvania that could be used for grape, peach, or apple, and these are listed below. So organic control has been a concern too, so they've tried to use Entrust or Spinosa, and that's the only OMRI-approved insecticide that was evaluated in a study. But what they found out was it was only 58% mortality, and there was no systemic residue afterwards. It wasn't killing them 7 days afterwards, so it was only when you sprayed them. So direct sprays could help a little bit, but there's no residual control, which should be an issue because we want residual control with this pest. Established populations come in waves. So right now, July through September, you know, these nice warm days, these adults are flying to different trees in waves. They're moving to fresh locations where the trees are healthier, where the sap is moving more in that aspect. So they're going to go after ailanthus, walnuts, silver maples, river birch, red maples. These are all certain trees that we're going to be looking for. They're actually starting to prepare to reproduce at these times now. So the egg laying is going to start happening at this point. And when I say hot, I mean that's a tree you should be treating because there's so many adults that will be attacking this. And this will continue through October. Hot trees. So you can see the pictures. This is quite scary what these flies will, lantern flies will do. I mean, just imagine a tree completely covered with that. I mean, this is up and down the tree. So this is definitely going to be a big problem, and it's moving quite fast from what we've seen. So do we need to save that tree? So a 46-inch silver maple, it was treated last year, and 48,000 lanternflies were killed over 3 months, guys. That is a big concern for us. Unchecked feeding like this is definitely going to cause damage to this tree. You know, 2017 was really wet. So did all this moisture help the trees recruit and not stress out and show damage from this in this aspect? So we have to ask ourselves this question. Did the moisture help the trees so they didn't show as much stress? In the picture in the top right, you can actually see a maple, how it budded out differently. So it actually changed the way the tree was leafing out or causing buds. So these are all things that are happening when the spotted lanternflies are feeding. So the big question is, you know, right now they haven't got any sort of disease or fungus that goes with them, but is that a possibility? So getting into applications and insecticides, to tell you guys what is happening, what's out there. There's been aerial spraying, there's been bark banding, there's been soil drenching and injections. Homeowners have tried oil soaps, growth regulators. I've even heard of kerosene, bleach, and dish soap. Dish soap works, but I mean, you're spraying literally every day to have the effectiveness of this on the adults. So some of your choices out there would be bark sprays with dinoteffuron. That has been a very effective spray, but you do have label limits with that. Injections with dinoteffuron and imidacloprid have all been effective and have lasted the longest. Injections with amectin benzoate or triage, we have not seen the effectiveness with the products that are above. So this is a sheet you guys can find on the USDA. This talks about a study that they did and the controls that they did last year. As you can see from the pictures, the dinoteffuron injection was by far the best. The dinoteffuron bark spray was good, and the imidacloprid injections were good as well. So these are some of the data that's out there from the USDA that I wanted to share with you guys. We have 2 research studies going on right now. One is in Limerick, Pennsylvania, and we have 54 trees with 9 different applications, and we've been monitoring how much honeydew is being formed and the movement from that. And then we have another site in Pottstown, PA, where we have 72 trees and 9 different replicas. So let's get into that. So the trial 1 we set up in a nice residential community. There's red maples all over the site. There's a bunch of wooded areas with your ailanthus, your black walnuts. And what we've seen, which is very interesting, is the movement of this pest. So essentially, we found, you know, 150 egg sacs on these maple trees that were on the outer bounds of the neighborhood, and they're actually moving. The nymphs are actually moving towards the ailanthus, the sumac. So they're actually moving their way to the back. So kind of moving forward, trial 2, we had multiple sites in Douglasville, Birdsboro, and South Reading, PA. And we did ailanthus trees in this test to see what the effects are on the major host that is out there. And we treated on August 15th with 1 of 9 treatments, and then we counted the number of live nymphs and adults on the lower 8-foot trunk. Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Steve Menschoffer wants to know, is it worse than EAB? Can you comment on that?
I think it has the potential to be worse than EAB because it attacks more trees than the ash tree. I mean, it's on red maples, it's on pears, it's on river birch. So the amount of trees that it's attacking, yes, I think it could have a potential of being worse than EAB. The good thing is we're not seeing tree death right now. You know, 4 or 5 years in, we're not seeing trees die, but we are seeing damage and stress to the trees. So could that come? Possibly. So there's still more studies that need to be done. So in the trial 2, this was in different quarries and we actually attached clear containers to see how much black sooty mold was done. So this was a list of treatments for trial 1 and trial 2. We used azosol, which is an OMRI type product. We used triage, DRE4. We did some experimental stuff. We did our Imajet 10. We had some more products. We did acelepryn. We did some ACEjet and azosol, and then we had our checks. So the way we tested this is we actually counted on the lower 8 feet of the trunk. We actually drew a line or did a bowl on these bottom things, and that's what we actually counted to see how many live spotted lanternflies we had on that. In the second area, we actually did black mats, and we counted how many were dead on this plastic dead mat at the base of the trees to give us an idea to quantify how effective we're actually being. This is how we tested for the level of sooty mold on the upper surface of the cups, and this would determine how bad the pests were on the tree at the time. So getting into this, so what was the effectiveness of these injections or bowl sprays in the treatments. As you can see, the most effective one that we saw that we had excellent control was our Inject product. And then another one was an Inject 10 as an actual bark spray. And then getting into the lower levels of good, we had another experimental product, and then another experimental product that we had great results. Go ahead.
Nick Wagstaff wants to know, what are the temperature tolerances of the fly?
The temperature tolerance is, they have a feeling that they're not going to do as well in the colder states as New York, and that they may actually freeze off. But in Pennsylvania and across the Midwest where we've had warming, we didn't really see any reduction of the pest. They're believing that in Canada and the colder states, they won't move as fast and as far. So getting into this, so we are seeing effectiveness with different types of products, which is a positive in that. Moving forward, this is the effective treatments in the trial 2, what we've seen. We definitely saw the most effectiveness with the Inject and our Inject bark spray on that. And then an experimental product was the next, and then we got into some of the other products, the ARBORjet injection and that. We saw fair results with our Armory-listed azosol product, which is actually a growth regulator, so that's going to help stop the life cycle, and we did see results with that. So the level of protection, what we've seen so far in our research is we've seen excellent protection with our Inject injection or our actual bark spray. Go ahead.
Bennett Graves would like to know, do they have an estimated rate of spread that would give us an ETA in the southeast?
It will all depend on if it's moved. Did a camper or did someone move it down? It was moved on a stone pallet into Virginia. So, I mean, it all depends on who's moving it. Are people noticing it on cars and that? So, I mean, it could be there this year. It could be a couple of years down the road. It all depends on the movement of us. Good protection, what we've seen. And our fair protection, as I said, was our azosol if you want more of a Armory-listed approach. And then the ARBORjet and azosol combination was really good as well, too. So research. The interesting thing that we've seen in this research is in the bark banding that we did is, at first we would thought that they were going to be feeding on the trees, the nymphs, when they hatch the eggs. But the interesting thing is they're actually leaving the trees and going into the grass or into the perennial beds and actually feeding. And for the most part, we saw the nymphs actually going back into the trees. So they're actually climbing back up into the tree and looking at that. So they're using the trees maybe as protection. I think there's still so much more to be known about this to determine what they're doing. But you can see how many nymphs were coming back into the tree, and they were all coming up from the ground, which was quite interesting. So we did actually see some slugs eating them. So there are some predators that will eat them when they're smaller, but I don't think it's anything to be significant to stop the spread. We do have a 2EE for our product Inject as an injection for this spotted lanternfly in Pennsylvania and Virginia and New Jersey, and we're working on New York and the other states as we need it to be. So I wanted to show some photos. So look at these photos and see how effective an injection can be of a spotted lanternfly attack. But look at the numbers of how many are on the ground. And I mean, this is continuous, over a couple weeks. They'll fly in, they'll attack, and then they'll drop. So this is a big deal, guys. This is a pest that we definitely want to be proactive and not reactive. We want to monitor it and make sure that we're ahead of this game before we really get into it. Managing customers' expectations too. There's nothing that we can do to stop them from moving through because they're in the forest. They're in all these areas that we're not spraying and we're not treating. So all we can do is try to protect the property. And you can see in the photos, 8.5, 9.13, 10.16. Look at the numbers of dead. So this pest is constantly moving and coming into your properties. So we just have to set the expectations of what's going to happen with this pest as we move forward. So people have asked, what happens when they move on? Well, these are some of the things that we found and we've seen in the Berks County area. There's a tulip poplar scale outbreak. You can see the photos. Look at the honeydew, how shiny it is on the cars. Look at the scale in the picture, how bad it is. So did the lanternfly move the scales? Are they actually being a host and scales are moving on this pest into areas, and when they leave they thrive because they've caused the tree stress? These are all things that we're going to find out and see, but I mean, I wanted to share, look at the photos, the black sooty mold on the leaves, the thickness of the scale. I mean, a lot of these trees, and this is throughout that area where the population has crashed, where it was originally found. So these are some of the things that we're seeing when it actually moves on. Another thing, right in the main location out in the woods, some of the ailanthus have actually died from slime flux or bark blowout on a healthy tree, you know, from bacterial wetwood. So trees, ailanthus in the core have actually died from the attacks on this, you know, from some of the things that have. So is this more to come? Are we going to see these things happen more often? These are things that we have to research more and study, but I want you guys to be aware of it because it's definitely a threat that's coming to your area. Getting into my fertilization a little bit, fall fertilizer, we're going to start with NutriRoot. So this is a unique product. This is actually a fertilizer and water management combination. So this is going to help with drought stress. This is going to help with root growth. We've seen about 3 times the amount of root growth with this. This is going to be something that you guys can use for transplanting to help with confidence. It's going to give you precision throughout the season. So this is something you could use for roses, lawn and landscape trees, shrubs. All these would be different opportunities that you can do. So what is it? NutriRoot's a fertilizer. It's just got a basic 2,2 plus a micro. It has like a moisture manager product that's going to help reduce watering. And then it actually has a root stimulator in it that's going to help with more roots. It's going to help with more water and more nutrients. This is something that you could actually mix possibly with your other fertilizers to help with the uptake and improve the effectiveness of it. So what it does, the fertilizer has humates in it that help feed the soil to boost micro activity. So it makes the soil work better essentially. So you have macro and micronutrients that feed the plant, as you can see in the picture. So it's helping with that. It's helping the tree bring in the materials at a better pace. The fertilizer effect of it, this photo is really interesting. It was from one of our RTM's customer up in Minnesota, but this is before fertilization. This white birch was struggling. It was chlorotic. It couldn't take up material, so they did drought conditions. So they did one application of NutriRoot, and you can see how the tree responded by September. It flushed. So what did NutriRoot do? I think it did a couple of things. I think it allowed the tree to take the nutrients up, but I also think the root ball maybe had some surface tension to where it wasn't allowing the water in. So what it did is it broke that surface tension to allow the water into the tree, and it went up. So all these things are positive actions of it, and that's one thing of the fertilizer effect. The moisture manager portion of it increases percolation. It reduces water runoff. So essentially, if this was a hillside and we used this product, it would allow the water to go into the hillside and move it in. So the humectants draw the water towards the roots, and then the water becomes low and it goes in. So it helps protect the fine root hairs of the tree as well. So some of the common applications that you could do is, you know, planting trees. Trees sitting in a garden center nursery may benefit from this. This is going to help when you're transplanting or going to move a tree. Drought periods, anytime like that, this would be a type of product that you would use. Poor growing conditions, trees that are in urban environments, you know, tree pits, anything of that aspect is what you would do. Into the season, why wouldn't we use this type of product instead of an anti-desiccant spray? try to give the tree the water that it's going to need so we don't have to use the anti-desiccant spray. So prep for that, you know. Think of these different things before we get into it in that aspect of it. Methods, we've got soil injections, we've got soil drench, we've got tank mix, we've got hose end sprayers. All these are great tools for installation jobs. Foreplay. Got a question?
Hey, Trent, Carson with TreeStuff.
Yep.
Matt Derrickson asks, is this something that you would use in like a 3 or 500 gallon sprayer? And how long does the NutriRoot stay in the ground?
NutriRoot's going to last you for about a month. You could do it in a 300 to 500 gallon sprayer. Typically it's 1.5 ounces per gallon of water to give you kind of ideal rates. But it could be a very effective product that you could do that. I've had customers actually buy the 30-gallon drums that we have and use it with their other fertilizations to increase the effectiveness of it. Getting into Foreplay. So Foreplay is a very unique product. I would say this is like a NutriRoot Pro in my mind. This is going to give you the main ingredient, the hydrotane, a product called C Extra, which is your seaweed extracts, the humates, and then a 10% non-ionic surfactant. And this is going to be great for any trees and shrubs in that aspect of it. You can see a tree or a plant behind on the left, quite larger. So application of this Foreplay, the nice thing with the Foreplay is with the NutriRoot, you typically get a month. With the Foreplay, you're going to get 3 months with an application. And your application rates for tree and shrubs are going to be 2 ounces per gallon. And if you really want maximum effectiveness, you're going to do 4 to 8 ounces per inch of diameter to the trunk, to give you an idea of that. But shortstop, this is growth regulators. I think growth regulators are a great tool that you can use. This is going to help you with reduced pruning. If you have construction damage type trees, it's going to help with fine root hair growth. It's going to reduce drought stress. Opportunities for this. I know some people have said that they've seen results with bacterial leaf scorch. I think it's going to help with that. I don't know if it has any cure, but it's going to help the tree slow down and have thicker leaves. Stomata smaller. All these are going to play into hands with that. It's going to help with increased chlorophyll. It's going to reduce your growth for up to 3 years. So essentially, one application of Shortstop 2SC is going to give you a 50% reduction of growth the first year, and you're going to see about 85% the second and third year. So what you could do is if you have a tree in decline, this may be a tool to help that tree to recover. So essentially, you would do, it may take up to 10 years because, but it's going to help with root growth. It's going to redirect the tree's energy from the leaves and put it more into the roots of the trees and help with that growth. Getting into a little bit of the fertilizer products, looking at time-wise, maybe we should go into the demo to give a little bit of a break on the presentation part and do a little bit of injection, showing how to properly set a plug and actually demonstrate the product. So let me go ahead and move around to the front. So essentially, when we do a tree injection, you're going to go out, you're going to do good plant health care. You're going to determine what is going on with the tree. Do I need to do anything at this time? Is there a pest? Is there a disease attacking this tree? And once you determine that, then you can make a determination if I need to choose to treat this tree, essentially. We have a nice stump here. Go ahead, Carson.
All right, I do have a question from Steve Mooring. Can Shortstop work in Florida on hedges, or is it too hot?
It will have some effect. You will not see the 3 years. You'll probably only get a year with the hedges there because of the growing season. It's so much longer. It's not as effective in the Florida market for hedges. So let's talk about the F-Series before we get started on the actual demonstration. So this is our actual new piece of equipment. This is the 1.5 liter size. The nice thing with this device, guys, is we went all metal. Now, essentially, we eliminated removing the top. Now you actually have a cap that you take off and you'll remove. And the best part is we have a funnel that goes in, so you're just pouring the chemical into the device now. Once you're done, you remove it, put the cap back on, and you're ready to go. So essentially, when we're doing any application, you're going to be measuring the tree at breast height, so typically 4.5 feet. So if this was our tree and we're using this as our example, we would come out and measure it. We would put our diameter tape on it, and just for demonstration case, we're going to say this is a 10-inch tree at this point. So knowing that it's 10 inches, and we'll say that the chemical we're using is 5 mils per dBH inch or diameter at breast height. So that would mean we would need 50 mils of product. So we would take our graduated cylinder and we would measure out 50 mils of product, and then we would pour it into the bottle, and then we could start our injection with that. The upgrades of this device that are quite nice is everything's metal now. We eliminated the plastic portion because that was a problem. So now everything is metal. You have the cap for on and off. And the really nice thing with this device, guys, is we no longer only go to 60 PSI. This could go up to 120 PSI. Do I ever think you need to go to 120 PSI? No, probably not. But 60, 70 pounds of pressure, you can definitely use this, and it's a great tool. This is our hex PDS manifold. So now you have 6 lines instead of 4. And the nice thing is there's actual caps now on this that you can actually plug. So you could choose to do 4, 5, 6 lines, and then it actually comes with another adapter, which is here in the kit, that you can screw into the center of this manifold, and you could attach another 6, so you could actually have 12 lines in that aspect of it. But the real big thing that I think everybody really likes is the quarter turn ball valves. No longer do you have your nitrile gloves on and struggle to try to turn it on and off. It's just a simple turn, and now the device is on, so you can always know if the product's on or off. The nice thing with all of our equipment, guys, too, is the ease to take the equipment on and off. It's just like a typical shark bite. You push in, you push out, anything. So if we were having any issues with equipment, like I've got guys call me, I've got leakage. Typically, you can just remove one of the lines, cut it with your pruners, your knife, and that's all you have to do, and then stick it back in, and you're good to go. So very simple aspect of it. This is the 1.5 liter bottle, as I said, and this would be our 600 milliliter bottle. So you have different sizes. This would be for like your insecticide uses, emerald ash borer control. This would be the bottle of choice because it's smaller, and typically your doses are smaller on those. You would use the 1.5 liter bottle when we're doing anthracnose, which you would be doing treatments now. That would be a fall injection. Some of the other injections that you could do in the fall might be apple scab, which would be with a product called ARBORjet. And the advantage to that is you're going to get about 80 to 85% leaf hold the following season with an injection now. I've seen great results with a propiconazole or propazole product with a fall injection for sycamore anthracnose as well, because I've seen a lot of stress on sycamores this time of year, and I've seen sycamores dying for some reasons in certain areas around Maryland and Pennsylvania. So is there more going on with that? I'm not sure, but it's something to keep an eye out for. We've upgraded the pump as well. We did away with the bright yellow pump, and now we have a nice 3-legged tripod, all metal pump that's sturdy. it stands on its own. You know, when you're on a hillside, anything like that, you will no longer have the issues with that. I'm going to bring the bucket down to get this going. So essentially we have little food coloring watering in, and I just want to show this process of pumping the device up. So we have our water in the bottle now, and to prep it for our next part of our demonstration where we're going to actually drill and set some plugs, I'm going to show you how to pump this up. So all metal, it clicks in and we're ready to go, and now we're pumping the device up, and right now we are at 60 pounds of pressure. I'm going to stop there because I think that's good for our demonstration, and I'll release that. We'll go ahead and come back up. So coming around here, I'm going to get on the side. So when you're doing an injection, you have a range on the tree. You could go from anywhere from ground level to 18 inches up. And what you're going to look for is you're going to want to stay away from compressed areas on the trunk, anywhere where there's dips. You really want to try to concentrate your injection on the trunk flare, you know, that 0 to 6 inches, because those are ideally the best part where the tree is actively growing and you'll have the best uptake on that tree. So to get started, typically what we'll do is we're always going to be perpendicular with the tree. Whether the trunk flares go up or down, that's what we're going to do. So essentially, to get started, we're going to drill till we see white. Once we see white, we know that we're into actual live tissue. And once we see that, now we can go an inch to inch and a half into that tree. So essentially, we're just going to go in nice and quick, clean cut, because we don't want to cauterize the wound. So we went in nice and quick, and we've got our plug there. So we'll go ahead and set a couple of these plugs so we can actually see what the tree is doing. So we'll get our plugs. This is our plug setter. The plugs can actually slide right into that spot. This is our number 4 plug. This is our number 4 plug, and it slides right in and out of that. So essentially, I'm coming right here, as you can see, and I'm just placing that into the log right now. And what we're going to do is we're just going to tap this in. Until we can see the white. And there's actually just white of the xylem right there now. So we know that the plug is properly set in the tree. I'm going to do one more for good measure. And we're in there. And what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and drill about 4 more in here, just so we can have all 6 lines in and get the full effect of it. We'll get the plugs, and we'll go ahead and place a few more in there now. So essentially, when we're out doing these injections, you're going to space the plugs evenly around the tree the best. I like to say, let's use the 4 compass points. And typically, your amount of plugs is based on the DBH of the tree. So the diameter of breast height. So if we had a 10-inch tree and we divided it by 2, which would be for like the QuickJet or the QuickJet Air, you would have 6 injection sites. With the Tree IV, it's typically, or the F-Series, you're going to do DBH divided by 3, so I'm going to say we could have 4 injection sites. Got that one set, and we got 2 more to do, and then we'll go ahead and put them in and inject a little bit.
John Bell says, Trent taught me how to set plugs when I was only 17. He's the best around.
Thank you, John. Thank you. I think this is the most important thing if you're a new applicator or you're training your new technicians to go out, that they have to do properly. I've seen too many times going out and visiting with technicians, guys that aren't setting these plugs right. For instance, I went out to a property and I was looking for the plugs down at the base, and lo and behold, they're at 4.5 foot height right in the tree. So we have to make sure that we are being good arborists, good protecting our business and making sure that our technicians and everyone are doing the proper methods so we don't get a bad name in that aspect of it. So I've set these plugs. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 5 plugs there. We'll go ahead and put one more in just for good measure so we have 6.
Trent,
Yeah.
while you're doing that, I have a question about the spotted lanternfly.
Okay.
John Cole says, in a spotted lanternfly quarantined area, how do you handle removing infested Allianthus material? Chip the brush, hauling the wood, etc. How do you handle that?
Removing it. It would probably depend on the state's law. I could see maybe burning it or chipping it, maybe an option, but I would say that we'd have to check with what state they're in to see what their rules are for quarantine and movement.
He mentioned, what if there are no certified grinders in the area to handle the material properly?
It would be a call to the extension agent of the state and see what they recommend to make sure you're doing it the proper way.
Thanks, Trent.
Yep. So now we've got our plug sites on the tree, and we're going to go ahead and insert the needles. So when we're inserting needles, we're just going to apply pressure to the center of the plug, and they slide in, and when it stops, you know you're in the proper place. And since I've got my main valve shut off right now, I'm going to go ahead and open up all these devices so we can get started with it. All right, so I have all them set up in the tree now. So if this was a live treatment that we were actually doing out in the field, now I could go over here to the top of the ball and actually turn on the tree. So as I turn it on, the line's charged. You can see the blue going through it, and now, boom, we have it going into the tree. And you can see how effective it is, and essentially it will probably start coming out the bottom of the tree as well. So you can see how fast it goes into the tree. So people always ask, how long is it going to take to do injections? I would say typically 20 to 30 minutes should be your average. I've been out in the field where I've had a 55-inch ash tree and it's taken 2 minutes. So if the trees are actively moving, it's a very fast procedure. But then I've also had days where it's cloudy, it's overcast, and it's not the best, and it's taken longer. You may have 30 to 45 minutes. But a nice thing that you have with the use of plugs is if it is a poor day of application, you can pull your needles and come back the next day and do the treatments another day, because these plug sites are good for about 10 days, guys. So you get given that opportunity, you can expand out how long you're doing stuff. So there's definitely options for you on that in doing the injections that way. There's so many different pests that you can do. Injection has opened up the door for that, because now the trees that used to be 100, 120 foot tall that you could never treat by spraying, now you have an opportunity. You can come out and do these trees and treat them with injection. So scale, anything of that aspect, tent caterpillars, you now have a treatment method that you can control them essentially in 24 hours, some of your tent caterpillars, with an injection of like acephate or ARBORjet. You're going to have control within 24 hours. It'll literally be snowing on you. That's how fast and effective it can be. So this tool gives you different avenues of business. I mean, the nice thing is like apple scab treatments or anthracnose treatments. You can be doing them in the fall, so you can put some of your business in the fall application. You can treat for emerald ash borer in the fall. These are all tools that you can do, but the key is setting your customers' expectations for when you do like a fall. Go ahead.
Jacob Winterbauer asks, is there any concern with xylem cavitation or vascular embolism with air bubbles or excessive pressure?
I have not seen anything of that aspect in the 6 years that I've been doing it with air bubbles or anything like that. What sometimes may happen is there may be a plug site where it's like a vacuum seal and you would turn off the line and pull it out and then stick the needle back in and then it uptakes. So there's sometimes air will trap and it will like back pressure to where you won't have any movement, but essentially by turning it off and removing it, it takes care of it. You could cause damage if you did not set the plug properly, you know, and it was too shallow and it was in the cambium. You could have bark separation. I have seen that, but as long as you're setting the plug and making sure that these barbs are on inside the xylem, there's 3 barbs. As long as this is set properly in the tree, you will not have any issue with that. So as long as you see those barbs and you know that they're in the tree. So essentially, when you're setting that plug, if you listen to it, you can tell a change. Don't use a rubber mallet, don't use anything but a real hammer, because you can actually hear when this thing goes ping, 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 you know you're in the hardwood of the tree. And that will help you set the plug properly. So those are the things to keep in mind.
Got another question.
Yeah.
If the base of the tree where you're actually doing the injection site is a lot larger than the DBH, would you consider adding like more injection sites? Nick Benson mentions that he's done some where the trunk, the base of the tree is so much larger that he ends up with injection sites 12 inches apart or more.
It depends on what chemical that he is using. If it was for an insecticide, I wouldn't be concerned. I would be more concerned about making sure you get equal distribution. But if it was like for bacterial leaf scorch or a fertilization product that we're going to talk about coming up, I would make sure that it's every 4 inches, every 6 inches spaced around, because you don't want to have skips. If you were doing like a chlorotic tree, and if you would have different lines, like a yellow tree and a healthy green, those are the ideal things that you want to do. So you want to make sure that you space it equally, determined on what type of injection that you're doing. I don't think it's a big a deal if it's an insecticide.
So, but you would still use the same amount?
I would still use the same amount
on the DBH?
Based on the DBH and what the label states. You know, some of the labels will read you need every 4 inches or every 6 inches. You're always going to follow what the label states to make sure you're doing the proper injection.
Tom Figueroa says, we're treating Platanus racemosa for PSHB in California, and some of the older trees have very thick bark. Sometimes we need to set the plug an inch or more deep. Does this seem right to you?
As long as it's in the xylem correct, that would be right, because some of the bigger ash trees are 3/4 to an inch and you have to set it and you're literally sticking the needle all the way in. So that is proper, that. And a good way to check would be to use one of those little flexi LED lights to shine down and make sure you're seeing the white of the xylem when you're setting the plug. That would be ideal for the shot hole bore. But yes, that seems correct to me.
Matt Derrickson asks, what options of applications does ARBORjet offer for oak trees?
Oak trees, you could do, the F-Series would be ideal for oak wilt, sudden oak death. We have our PhosphoJet. Oak wilt would be Proposal. So we have many options for that, for treatment in that aspect of it. It's definitely a rising problem here in the Midwest, and we're seeing it more in the Pittsburgh area as well too. Some other things to keep in mind. Plant healthcare is such a broad topic, but injection is another tool for you guys to use as essentially a way to go out and look like a tree doctor in a lot of aspects. It's a lot nicer to be able to drive up in a car or a small SUV with your injection equipment and pull out a nice bag or a bucket and a bag to do injections. So this adds another realm or another tool in your toolbox to your spraying, your soil drenches and bark sprays. This adds you another tool that you can do.
Aaron Rickenberg asks, he says, EAB on a 48, I assume that might be inch?
Yeah, 48-inch DVH.
48-inch tree. Is it worth saving?
48-inch, yeah. I mean, I treated an 84-inch in New Jersey. One of my guys treated a 121-inch. I think all trees are worth it. It all depends, is the tree, the trunk in good health? You know, is there damage? You know, you have to make a good decision on the plant health. You know, is there significant damage? You know, if the bark is missing on half the side of the tree, then maybe no. But I mean, if the tree looks good and it has good root mass, I would definitely treat that tree. So just keep in mind that this plant health care is definitely a way to grow your business and add different avenues to it in that aspect of it. Sprays, bark sprays, there's so many different tools out there to use. We just developed, I don't have it here with me, but we actually have an AccuFlow meter, which allows you to meter your bark sprays in that sense, because, or use it for your shortstop 2SC to do a soil drench application. These are great tools that add to it, because I don't really feel that going out and measuring it, you're actually getting a good measurement. So this tool will actually give you a way to measure how much material you're actually putting in, so you can actually, instead of just mixing up one tree for a bark spray, you can mix up a tank and measure out what you want to do. So these are some of the tools that we're trying to build for you guys to make you successful in that aspect of it.
One more question.
Yeah.
And then we'll let you get back to your PowerPoint.
Yep.
Amanda Young says that she's seen some arborists in Florida that are covering their plugs. Is this a new process, or is this just kind of an anomaly?
I'm not sure on that. I don't believe, I'm not sure why they're covering the plugs. It's a question I can ask my RTM and be happy to get back to her on it, because I'm not sure. It's something new that I haven't heard of from one of my colleagues, so I'll have to find out about that. All right, let's get into chlorotic trees. So we have a product that came out last year called Inject FE. And this is a fantastic product that provides potassium, manganese, iron, zinc, boron, and copper. And it will help alleviate symptoms of chlorosis. So this could be used as an injection, or it could actually be a foliar application. It has flexible summer and fall rates, which can extend your revenue. This is going to be another tool that you can use with consistent, long-lasting results based on, depending on how bad the tree is, will depend on how long this product will last. We're hoping that you'll see 2 to 3 years with one application as an injection. The foliar may be another aspect of it. So you can see from the pictures, but let's get into some results that our RTM from Texas, Emmett, has done, and I'll share them with you. So look at this. This is a spring application, 5 milliliters neat. He used our QuickJet Air device. You can see what it looks like in June, and look at the difference in August. What a difference in that tree and the results of it. totally different application, bright green. These are the things that we want to see with these chlorotic trees. Here's another one. This is actually 7 milliliters diluted, 1 part product to 9 parts water. So you can see from April 2015 to May to August, you can see the difference. The tree actually fills in and is a little bit healthier looking in that aspect of it, and it just helps the overall. You're going to help your customer enjoy the tree more. This is temporary fix is all, because we know we have to correct the soil to really truly change a tree, but this is a method to help us along in that aspect of it. So here is a spring applications, 8 milliliters neat, June to July. Pretty big difference. I mean, it looks a lot greener from the photo, and you can see the difference in it. Here is a November 2015 to August 4th with 16 milliliters neat. So a lot higher dose. This would be our fall treatment, but you can see how the tree responded with a nice dark green, and it seems like it's pushed out new foliage. This one is probably my favorite. This was a parking lot tree. They were getting ready to remove it. He requested, let me treat it, let's see what we can do. So this is October, and this is how it pushed out in May. So do I think this tree, he's going to get 2 years out of that, or 3? Probably not, but at least a year to 2 years. But for a parking lot tree, that's an amazing recovery, because most of us probably would have cut that down. Okay, so this is getting into our ARBORjet. This is our new line of liquid fertilizers that we, with our purchase of a call gel that we brought in. This is ARBORjet. It's a 1445. This is a great product. It's a liquid fertilizer for tree shrubs and ornamentals. It's a 50% slow release nitrogen fertilizer, so it's extended release. It's going to be for long term. The phosphorus is complex with some humates, so it stays available longer. It does have some micronutrients with some iron and manganese and zinc, so it's going to help with plant health, color, and that. So this is definitely a tool that you can use to help green up and give you consistent feeding. It's going to help with stress tolerance, provide your essential micronutrients. It's going to help with vigor in urban trees. It's going to help promote root and shoot growth, and it's going to help with transplant survival too. So this is another tool that you could maybe even work in with your NutriRoot, or in that sense to improve health. Here's kind of the basic product application. We're going to do a root injection 4 to 12 inches into the ground, and we're going to blend at least 5 gallons of water per caliper inch of the tree. 1 to 2 pounds of nitrogen for deciduous trees, and a half to 1 pound for conifers. You could do a root drench as well if you wanted to, and it's going to be same as a root injection, but applied to the soil surface around it to soak into the soil. You could do a foliar feeding as well, but it's going to be 2 to 3 quarts per 100 gallons of water to spray this on until moist, or until you see correct in deficiencies. The chart below kind of shows you the desired pounds of nitrogen and how much of ARBORjet that you would need. This kind of just gives you the analysis. Some of the benefits of it is you're going to have better stress tolerance, better vigor in your urban trees. In that sense, it's going to help with root shoot growth balance. Where can you use it? Nutrient deficiencies, if you have a tree that doesn't look good, maybe a little sick looking, adverse growing conditions, depleted soils, soils that are poor, this might be a tool. Trees that are weak, this may be the type of fertilization that you would need, because not always do you want to apply a nitrogen type product to a thing. There is some potash in that as well, so good, nice product to use. BioMP, I really like this product. It's unique. It's a 532. What I really like about this is what's in this product. Essentially, it's designed for all plants, but it has molasses in it. And molasses is very unique. What it does to soil structure and the organic acids in it help improve the microbial activity in the soil. So it's going to help with micronutrients. It's going to help with some iron and manganese in it, and zinc. It's ideal for soils that have low activity in it and a low CEC. rate. So it's going to help with improving the nutrient cycling. So it's going to essentially help with your plant's uptake, taking the nutrients in. It's going to improve that. It's going to help create a better environment in the soil if it's a poor soil. The molasses is going to help. The sugars are going to help improve that. Some benefits, you know, sterile sand conditions. This is a product that's going to help with leaching. It's going to give it some enhanced uptake. It's going to help with multiple stresses that are out there. It's going to help decomposition your organic matter that's there. It's going to help restore soil biology, because that's the key. Trying to correct the soil biology, if it's poor soil or anything like that, this is going to help promote that. And it's going to be a source of micronutrients in humate for the plants. Application-wise, you could do a root injection, you could do a root drench. So very easy application you could use with your sprayers, soil injectors. All these are avenues for what you can do. As you can see, the 6 to 15 ounces per 1,000 square feet. So this is kind of just the basic analysis of it. You're going to see the iron, manganese. You got the molasses with the 14. It does have a little bit of citric acid in it. You could use it in where there's thatch buildup. In that, where you have excessive nutrient leaching. All these are things that you could use this product for. So it would be essentially a soil conditioner for you guys to use. So Cytogrow is a very unique product that I wanted to share. We use it a lot for turf, sod fields and that, but I think it also has a place in the plants. So it's actually a seaweed extract or a root hormone biostimulant in that sense. So it's EPA registered. We also have a product called C Extra that isn't registered, but it's basically the same product in a sense. This is going to help with root volume. So if we have poor roots, we have issues. So this is going to help beef that up. You could use it for any tree or shrub. It's going to help with a variety of stress factors as well. So we're going to have better roots. We're going to enhance lateral root growth, better stress tolerance. This is going to be another thing that helps improve your nutrient uptake. It's going to help with salt tolerance, which is big for your parking lot islands, anything like that. It's going to help with frost damage. It's very affordable and easy to use, and you could use it with growth regulators as well. So this is something that you can mix in and use. Some product applications, you could dilute it with 1 ounce to 3 gallons of water and mix it with other solutions. You could do a root injection or a root drench. You could do a foliar application, 1 ounce per 3 gallons of water and spray. So there's multiple tools that you have to use. You know, these are things that not always thought about to add into your plant health care. Hydrotane. So this is one of the main products for our NutriRoot, but this is a fantastic tool for municipals. You know, if you're planting trees out in a commercial property, this is something that you may want to add to your formulations. It's very unique because it's got hygroscopic and humectant materials that condense into water vapor. So essentially, if I had this powder on my hand, guys, it would condense into water with the humidity and that within a few minutes. So it's very unique. So you can get this product in a liquid or a granular. It's 93% bio-based, and it's ideal for any tree or shrub or planting material. And it's safe for the environment. So it's good for all of us in that aspect, and it's not going to burn any of your plants. Go ahead.
Jacob Winterbauer asks, when you do a soil drench, how much of the nutrients are absorbed by the grass?
By the grass? That's a good question. It would depend on how much you're watering in the plant material through the grass to be effective. If it's a grass area, I would definitely say it may be better for a soil injection instead of a soil drench, because the grass is an organic matter and it could cause it not to be as effective. So I definitely think if it's a grassy area, if you can't do it in the mulch or anything, that's what I would do.
Another one for you. Would you suggest using BioMP with NutriRoot or alternating the two products? This is Nick Benson asking.
I think you could probably use them together. I don't think it's a requirement, but I think they would work well with each other. The BioMP is definitely a unique product and is going to bring something else to it with the molasses, but I think combined it would be a good product and you would see good results with it. Some of the benefits of Hydrotane is reduced watering, irrigation costs. You're probably going to cut your watering 50% with this. So this is a great tool if your customers are leaving, going out of town on vacation. This is something that you can apply so they don't have to worry about watering. It's going to help with desiccation effects. This is going to be something that will help with recovery as well. If we go through a drought period and you applied this, the plant may respond faster from this. It's going to help with your nutrient uptake. It's going to help with transplant establishment. If you're planting a bunch of trees, this would be something that you could use. You could use this with your shortstop to help with the uptake of that in that various soil applied products. So product application, a liquid, you're going to dilute 2 ounces per gallon and apply it drenched to the root zone. A root injection, you're going to do 1 to 2 ounces per 1/4 inch of trunk diameter and 4 to 12 inches into the ground with at least 5 gallons of water per caliper inch. A granular is just 1.5 to 2 pounds per caliper inch, spread evenly through the drip line and then deeply water it in. The key is you want to water this stuff in to make sure it gets into your root zone. You just don't want to walk away, so you have effective with that. So soil remediation, I'm going to talk a little bit about this. This is going to be essentially like salt damage, anything like that. For people that are down in the Carolinas that may be running into this, this would be a prime product to talk about coming up. So NAX is a soil salt flush. So this is going to be a way to help reduce your salt levels, whether it's snow removal, hurricane. This is going to help improve soil test and structure. It's going to reduce standing water and runoff. It's going to help water penetrate through this area. It's going to give calcium for turf, and it's very cost effective. Where you're going to use this is irrigated soils or with poor quality irrigation, soil that or reclaimed water. You know, if you have a site with that, I had a dog park that I helped install the irrigation, and it was reclaimed water. This would be something they would help to reduce the amount of salt in the area. So your sidewalks, your driveways, anything like that that you're maintaining as a property that has salt damage, this is what you would do. If it's high level of sodiums, coastal flooding, you know, anything like that where there's going to be a lot of salt water that's left behind, this is a product to help reduce that stress and bring it down. Getting into a little bit of specialty products, NPK blends. We have a full line, and I'm just touching on some of it. This is going to help mix things together in a sense. You're going to have multiple different products here that I've talked about in these coming up. So Bloomplex. So this is an 8-16-5 type product. It's going to help with blooming. So annuals, shrubs that are struggling that should be blooming better, this is going to help. It's going to encourage better growth in that aspect of it. Rapid establishment of your flowers and ornamentals. So if you're planting a ton of annuals, this may be something that you want to add in. It's going to help with root growth. It's going to help get it established. You may even mix in your NutriRoot or your Hydrotane with this in some aspects of it to help improve it. It's thin, slow plants that aren't doing well. That one plant that isn't doing well, this may be something that you add to it. It's going to help speed up the establishment of all the products. A plant that's poor in root and fruit development, this may be something that you want to add to it. Some of the micronutrients to talk about now, kind of moving up, is Calcium Plus. So if you want a calcium product, this would be another product that you could apply. Calcium has been seen to help for like your needle cast and diplodia. This may be something that you apply that's easy to help with stress tolerance, strengthen the thickness of the leaves or needles. It's going to help with your cell elongation in that aspect. I didn't talk about Diplodia needlecast really as a plant healthcare as well, and I did want to bring that up. Propofol actually is labeled for Diplodia, and I actually have guys that are telling me that they're using it as general plant healthcare for needlecast, so that may be something to try if you're out and you have customers that are struggling with this, because I know that disease is moving rapidly through the mid-Atlantic and up. So definitely something to keep in mind. Where could we use this Calcium Plus? Drought stress prone areas, poor flower setting areas, maybe shady, higher salt conditions, bad water filtration. All these would be sites that we could use it. Combination products, these are kind of unique products that we have that I wanted to share a little bit. So Multi-Purpose Plus has the Cytogrow, and it also has the Hydrotane in it. So essentially you're going to be giving a 1-2 punch. It's a 4-0-2, but it's going to help with stress tolerance. It's going to help with water efficiency. It's going to help with better root development. It's going to provide you better color. This is something that might help with seed germination. The Hydrotane product is fantastic for seeding, if you're doing any seeding and that touch-up work. Winter dormancy recovery, shallow weak root structures. This is just another good product that you could possibly use and take care of. And then this is just a list of all the different liquid fertilizers that you could use out there. So you have your Turfplex. Some of this is for lawns. Some of this you could use for this, but you can kind of see all the different things that we have. Boron Plus, Spectrum, Nutrisolve, Tough Greens. The ones that I really talked about was the Multi-Purpose and the BioMP, and then the NAX. So all these are different tools that you can use and getting into. And kind of just to kind of close out mainly my PowerPoint part of it, I wanted to talk about apps. How many of you guys use the apps that are available? We have the ARBORjet mobile app, which is a great tool, which allows you to find out a solution finder, which you can download. It's all free. So it will give you different types of trees, different types of pests and diseases, and it gives you that opportunity of what to choose and look at as a solution finder. It also gives you a project calculator to where if you want to enter in an inventory of trees that you have on the person's property, you can type in the size, the DBH, plug in a price that you charge for that, and then hit calculate, and it will tell you if you put in 750, it would tell you what it would cost to remove, replace, and the actual value of the iTree of that tree. So it's a great tool. It also has a tree tag. So this is kind of a work in progress, but it's like an Excel type spreadsheet thing that you can type in if your applicator's out there and take a picture before and after, so you have that. It has all the labels and registrations. Marketing materials. I know you guys are always looking for marketing materials, but this is a great way. It's free. We have different marketing materials that you can type in your business information and just print it out at your office. So it's all free tools. We actually have a custom video that you guys can do that's 2 minutes. It's essentially $150, but you make a video about your company. You send us a link that you're sharing it, and we'll send you $150 worth of plugs. So it's essentially a free marketing tool for you guys, but it's a great tool. Also in our marketing materials things are our YouTube videos. I don't know if you guys follow us, but we have a great YouTube following. We actually did a Roots to Shoots webinar series that lasted, I want to say 10 or 12 weeks. I can't remember off the top of my head, but these are all videos that are saved. You can learn how to inject a tree, how to troubleshoot equipment, how to set up equipment. These are all great tools that you can do. And then there's also the contact, which you can call our office, where we have a full staff of people talking that can support you. You can call your RTMs. These are all ways to reach out and do. We have any questions? All right. Yep.
All right. Nels Backstrom has a question. He says, Is there any success with any treatments for BOB? I hope you know what that is because I do not.
BOB.
He says it just showed up in northern Illinois and they're starting to lose some big bur oaks.
Bur oak blight. There is, we do have a product for that and a treatment method. And if he can leave his email, I will get it to him off the head. But we do have a treatment for that. Our Jeff Palmer, our Western Technical Manager, has that, and I'm not completely familiar with that, but we do have a program for it.
Amanda Young wants to know, can the NAX be injected?
It cannot. It could be a soil injection, but it cannot be a tree injection.
All right. Noah Vale says, is it normal to see injection ports from past years being pushed out of the trees?
If you're seeing that, that means the plug was not set properly and the tree is pushing it out because of that. That's what you're seeing when you see it pushed out. It wasn't set deep enough and the tree was able to push it out.
Steve Mooring would like to know, is there an injection solution for palm trees?
There is different tools. ARBORjet's been used for palm trees. We actually have a ARBORjet, which will help with improvement. We actually have a 3-step program that we have in Florida that uses different products to improve plant health.
Jacob Winterbauer says the app isn't showing up as available in the Google Play Store.
I will check on it. It was supposed to be there, but they were having some issues with it. I will check on it. Tell them to try Arbor Mobile as well. That may bring it up.
All right, well, I think that's probably going to wrap us for tonight, Trent.
Yep.
I want to come over here, shake your hand.
Yep. Thank you for having me. It was great.
Yeah, thank you. Hit the thumbs up button if you'd like to see Trent or another ARBORjet representative come back and maybe do another webinar for us.
Absolutely, absolutely.
While you're doing that, we also flashed at the bottom of the screen about our Fallen Families Fund, which is an awesome thing. I always try to take some time and talk about that. It's a charity that we were involved in establishing. TreeStuff this year. It benefits arborists and their families who have been injured, or to the families of someone who's died on the job, and it provides like a one-time small cash infusion to help them get through a difficult part in their life. And it's a fully registered 501c3 charity, 3C charity. We have a .org website. You can see that at fallenfamiliesfund.org. Any money that we raise through t-shirt sales, events, donations that we take in, 100% of those dollars from top to bottom goes directly to arborists in need. All of the administrative work is done by myself and other team members of our own time, and 100% of the administrative costs, taxes, lawyer fees, and stuff like that for the whole charitable thing is covered by Cheryl Inc. So any money that you give to the Fallen Families Fund or anything you do to benefit it directly benefits another arborist or their family. So that's super exciting.
Yeah, that is great. Please donate. That's a great fun.
So check that out. We have upcoming webinars. We are tentative with a rope factory tour and testing extravaganza. That's supposedly coming up. We also have Tim Ard coming next month. Tim Ard's an awesome chainsaw instructor. In November, excuse me. He is basically a legend. He'll be doing like his whole show that normally you have to pay to see. You'll be doing that on a webinar. That'll be free. So please tune into those. As always, I'd like to recognize the efforts of Carson Royer, Cale Royer, his brother, Jake Miller, our newest addition. Those guys put a ton of effort into creating this and having free CEUs available for you, the audience. We're also planning some really exciting stuff for Capture the Canopy this year, as well as a lot of other really cool stuff. So please stay tuned to the Facebook page, keep watching it, check for other broadcasts that we're doing, and let us know in the quiz. There's a place for you to give us feedback or comments. If there's anything you want to tell us about the webinars or ways that we can improve them, we're all for that. There will be a link posted in the chat of this post. There will also be a separate post on the Facebook page in just a couple of moments. That link will have the quiz in it. The quiz definitely works. So if you have any issues with it, maybe try clearing your internet history or your cache or clicking on it from a desktop if you don't get it on a mobile. But trust us, it works. We checked it, we tested it, and please submit it and we'll get you your CEUs. As always, we take the test and we submit it to the ISA, and it may take some time for you to get your CEUs, so please do be patient. Other than that,
Thank you
thanks.
for having me.
Did we get enough thumbs up to bring him back? Maybe, Carson said. PHC@treestuff.com. Thank you, Carson. We have a resource in place. Albert Cooper, who you know, he's got a bunch of letters after his name, and he knows a ton about PHC. He answers all those questions directly. So if you have a question about how to meter, you can't get a hold of an ARBORjet technical representative or something like that, email PHC@TreeStuff. Albert will look at a photo from your cell phone and help you identify something and tell you the right chemical to use, or whether maybe you don't need a chemical or you need something else. So that's another great resource for you. Thanks again to everybody who makes this possible. Thank you to the audience for watching, and please stay safe.
Thank you.